welcome to another edition of Two Steps Ahead Podcast. Two Steps Ahead Podcast encouraging you to take your passion, make it happen, let yourself be great. I'm Son Edom. Coming up on the show, we've got some stuff to get into that I'm sure you've heard about. And as you know, if you listen and follow the show, one of the things that I like to do is kind of wait when a story breaks or something big happens, because oftentimes once something happens and hits the headlines, all kinds of craziness follows. And then the truth eventually will settle down and come out when all the craziness and all the hysteria and all the backlash and everything is over. So if you've been living under a rock, as they say, or perhaps maybe you just don't have social media, which I'm finding more and more common, that people are dumping their social media, especially things like TikTok or Snapchat or some of those. You know, the Facebooks and the Instagrams might be more common in keeping when you're dumping social media. But I'm finding a lot of people dumping social media because they're just tired of it. They're tired of all the nonsense that goes on. But if you're still in the know, you're in the know. But if you're not, I'm sure you've heard by now the story about the Kansas City Chiefs place kicker, Harrison Butker, and the graduation commencement speech that he gave at Benedictine College, which is a Catholic college in Kansas. And I know you've probably seen and heard a lot of things with the major backlash coming from women on TikTok, posting videos of their graduation success and the things that they've overcome and the things that they have done in their lives, which good for you. We are all about advancing yourself, bringing out your inner greatness, raising the standard, taking your passion, making it happen. So good for you. However, in this context of people posting their stuff, I find it rather interesting because there's a few things going on that I like to mix together. That includes the Met Gala and the Blackout, or the Blockout, I guess it is, where you're blocking out celebrities, the Blockout 2024, which I don't even know if that's even going on anymore since this has taken place. And then, of course, you've got P. Diddy and the video that has come out with him and the abuse that he put upon his girlfriend at the time. So a lot of stuff going on kind of simultaneous that I think kind of merged together. And that's what I want to talk about today. So the speech by the place kicker from the Kansas City Chiefs got a bunch of outrage because of what they first said he said compared to what he actually said. So first off, the college is a Catholic college, and I believe they're more of a devout Roman Catholic college than, say, perhaps a Catholic college like Notre Dame. The Benedictine College website states that Benedictine College is committed to those beliefs and natural principles that form the framework of the Judeo-Christian tradition, and is committed further to those specific matters of faith of the Roman Catholic tradition as revealed in the person of Jesus Christ and handed down in the teachings of the church. So I guess in the tradition of the church, of the Roman Catholic Church, and the Roman Catholic traditions, I think Benedictine College is a little bit more, like I said, devout than other Catholic colleges. Now, as a college founded on the Benedictine tradition, Benedictine College inherits the themes handed on to us by the Benedictine family: peace, the balance of activity, and contemplation. So that's the college. That's the audience that Butker is talking to. So his comments are directed to a specific group of people and has a specific message to people that have a specific faith and a specific set of values, which really aren't so different when it comes to family, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to children, than a lot of other Christian faiths. I mean, marriage and family is extremely important in the Christian faith. In fact, some people find it to be more important and more satisfying and more significant than other things. So there's a lot of people that, in essence, would agree with what Butker had to say. And so the outrage from people who really didn't know what, I guess, the overall message was intended for, kind of heard some things, they get outraged, and then they go on and complain on social media. So what did Harrison Butker say that was so egregious, so offensive, that required such outrage? Well, first off, there's three, I think, sections, three little clips that I want to play. The first one, he addresses the ladies. Then the second clip that I think gets underplayed is where he addresses the men. And then the third, he makes a political statement, kind of. And so, of course, the political statement, the address directly to women, is what sets everybody off. So this is what Harrison Butker, place kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, that everyone is now calling, or at least the liberal outraged women are calling, the little man that kicks a football. And by the way, real quick, before I get to it, somebody posted a clip saying that he only makes $20 million on his 5-year contract, and he only plays a couple minutes a game. And they were trying to use that information to belittle him compared to maybe Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce. Okay. This guy might be smarter than all of us, because if he's making 20 million and all he has to do is work a couple minutes a game, 17 games a year, let's just call it an hour a season, he's getting 20 million for 5 hours of work. This guy might be smarter than all of us combined, because he's getting maximum money for minimum effort, which ironically is kind of interesting when all these women are posting their resumes in protest to the speech when they're doing their videos on social media. They're posting their videos about how I graduated from college and I was the first one to go to college in my family and I overcame these obstacles. And basically you've done what what you've done and accomplished is great, but you've done and accomplished the same thing that millions of other people have done. So in reality, you really haven't done anything that's unique or different, although I do commend and congratulate you for your success. There's no doubt about that. But you've really done nothing special than what I've done and what millions of other people have done. You've gone to college, you've gotten a degree, and you've gone on to be successful in the working world. Good job. But here is the first cut that Harrison Butker drew backlash and outrage for when he addressed the ladies specifically in his commencement speech.
For the ladies present today, congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. You should be proud of all that you have achieved to this point in your young lives. I want to speak directly to you briefly because I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now about to cross this stage and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. I'm on this stage today and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. I'm beyond blessed with the many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker.
So that's his comments to the ladies, specifically when it comes to the graduation commencement. That he mentions most of you will be most excited about marriage and children. And that sets off all the liberal left-leaning women. And they all start complaining and whining and bitching. What they failed to hear, what they failed in the message was that he said his wife, Isabel, her life started. This is the other thing that kind of triggered them. Her life started when she got married and had kids. But what they failed to understand is the point when he said that he could not be successful without his wife. He could not be successful without her being there to support him, his family, his children, and being a part of that family team. See, society has decided to divide men and women and make it us against them. Men are from Mars or Venus, women are from Saturn or Uranus, wherever they're from. And so we've divided. But instead, if you're in a relationship, it's a team. It's a teamwork effort. that is required to make that relationship successful. And in fact, a lot of times, leaders and experts will tell you that to be a good leader, you're going to find people to complement you in areas of your weakness. So where you're strong and where your strengths are, you're not going to hire somebody to be your teammate or your partner to be just as strong as you in those areas. You want somebody to be strong in the areas where you are weak or where your weaknesses are, where you're not so strong. And that complements the teamwork. So when you have a relationship and you've got two people coming together, then the man and the woman are going to complement each other with their strengths, their weaknesses, work together as a team, and then you have a solid foundation for a relationship. And that's why a lot of relationships don't fail, is because society has pit men against women, and you've got problems, especially when it comes to family and it comes to the home. Here's the other thing, too. Why is it that if someone decides to stay at home and be a homemaker, why is that a bad thing? Why is the stay-at-home mother regarded as something less than someone that goes out into the corporate world? I know many people, many mothers that are working just to put their kid in childcare, childcare before elementary school. That's the only reason they're working. And I'd ask them, well, if you stopped working, could you have your child at home? And it becomes a vague answer. Now, you do what you want. It's your life. It's your family. It's your kids. But when we start to look at the basics of family, are you being forced into the working world because society dictates that you should be in the working world and you are less of a woman because you're a stay-at-home mother? Or could society be better off having mothers at home with their kids, raising their kids instead of daycare and other people raising your kids? Might solve a lot of problems. Now, I understand the economy of today requires 2-income, 3-income families. Three income families. And so I get that. Not all of us can stay at home. In fact, a lot of us work a job or two, or if you're in a relationship, 3 or 4, because both parties work in a couple jobs, whatever. And so it's harder to stay at home and be that stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad. Why not be a stay-at-home dad if the wife or the significant other has a great job, making a lot of money? Are you any less of a person because you're at home with your kids as a father, having that influence over your kids? Probably not. But people missed out on the comment that he made about his success being possible because of his wife, who happened to be a homemaker. Watching a little bit of that series Quarterback put on by Peyton Manning, he follows Kirk Cousins, who was with the Vikings at the time, Patrick Mahomes of the Chiefs, and then Marcus Mariota, who was with the Falcons at the time, and they're following them throughout the 2022 season. And their wives are there. All 3 of them have their wives right there. Some of them are just stay at home. Kirk Cousins' family, at least they don't go into too much of the personal lives, but the wives are there supporting the husbands at the games during the week. In fact, Kirk Cousins' wife talks about how Tuesdays, I guess his day off, is the day that they are together. And because of Tuesdays, his day off, and they get to spend the time together, that makes it so that she can get through the week with him being a football player because his time is so busy. So again, they work it out. They worked out a situation that benefits them as a family. And they have little ones. All 3 of them had little ones, or at least they gave birth during this showing of this season of quarterbacks. But all 3 was a strong message of wives being there to support their husbands, and the success being contributed to the support of a team coming together, a team, just like the center, the placeholder, and the place kicker work as a team to kick the extra point to win a football game as time expires, or to kick the 50-yard field goal as time expires. It's teamwork. So that was one area that people were outraged about. The other area was a political statement. So here's Harrison Butker talking about political leaders screwing things up.
While COVID might have played a large role throughout your formative years, it is not unique. Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally. He has been so vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure to many people it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice. He is not alone. From the man behind the COVID lockdowns to the people pushing dangerous gender ideologies onto the youth of America, they all have a glaring thing in common. They are Catholic. This is an important reminder that being Catholic alone doesn't cut it. These are the sorts of things we are told in polite society to not bring up. You know, the difficult and unpleasant things. But if we are going to be men and women for this time in history, we need to stop pretending that the Church of Nice is a winning proposition.
So that was the other thing. He cracks on the Biden administration for supporting abortion as a Catholic and then doing the sign of the cross at a pro-abortion rally or an event. And so a lot of people started cracking on him for talking about bad policies, poor leadership. Biden proclaiming to be a Catholic, but then doing the sign of a cross during an abortion ceremony. He goes on from there, talking about having to have difficult and unpleasant conversations about things. The Church of Nice is not a winning proposition. It's not. In fact, the Church of Nice is actually losing. But you can't be Catholic and say you believe in something, a faith, and then do something or believe in something or push an agenda that is opposite to that faith. Let's go to the sports world. I mean, if you were, let's say, a Yankees fan, and you said you rooted for the Yankees and you're a Yankees fan, and you said Yankees, Yankees, Yankees. But then you're spotted wearing Red Sox gear. You go to Red Sox games, you're rooting for the Red Sox over the Yankees, and you still claim to be a Yankee fan. People aren't going to believe you that you're a Yankee fan. You're just saying something. Your actions are not backing up your words. Your words are just out there. And so people are going to stop believing you're a Yankees fan and start believing you're a Red Sox fan despite what you say. That's the same thing when it comes to other areas of life. If you say you're a Catholic and yet you're going out there and doing things against the Catholic Church, or you're practicing or believing in things that are opposite of the Catholic Church, then maybe you're not Catholic. Despite what you say, your actions aren't backing that up. So therefore, maybe you're not. And so he got blowback for that and outrage because he spoke out against the Biden administration and kind of got a little political there. But then he also goes on to address the men. And he specifically has a message for the men, just like he had for the ladies, which drew outrage. Then he had a political statement, which drew outrage. And then he had this to say to the men.
To the gentlemen here today, part of what plagues our society is this lie that has been told to you that men are not necessary in the home or in our communities. As men, we set the tone of the culture. And when that is absent, disorder, dysfunction, and chaos set in. This absence of men in the home is what plays a large role in the violence we see all around the nation. Other countries do not have nearly the same absentee father rates as we find here in the U.S., and a correlation could be made in their drastically lower violence rates as well. Be unapologetic in your masculinity, fighting against the cultural emasculation of men. Do hard things. Never settle for what is easy. You might have a talent that you don't necessarily enjoy, but if it glorifies God, maybe you should lean into that over something that you might think suits you better.
So there he talks about what men should do to make families better. Be there. Be a father. Lean into that. Men set the tone for culture. Too many men are being silent, and culture is getting away from values, morals, ethics, good things. Men not necessary. It's funny how men aren't necessary when it comes to things like woman's choice. Men should keep your laws off my body. Men shouldn't have a say in my reproductive rights. Yet, deadbeat dads, you go after them. You belittle them. You berate them. Can't have it both ways. Pick a side. Either men are involved or they're not. Absence of men leads to more violence around the nation. This is actually true. We've done podcasts on men and fathers, and it is. The absence of a father, the absence of a male figure, especially in a young boy's life, young man's life, is significantly different when he's involved versus not being involved. That's just fact. Disorder, dysfunction, and chaos happens. I mean, look at the inner city. Look at the inner city statistics of young men without fathers, growing up without fathers, and look at the crime rates. Look at the violence. Look at things that go on and how hard it is to reach them, these young men, after they've been on the streets for a few years, and they're on the streets because they have no father. Maybe they're being raised by their grandmother. Maybe their mother isn't even around. It's very difficult, very hard for these young men. If a male influence is in their life, a positive one, because in fact, when you go to the gangs or you get into the criminal element, there's a male figure, someone who's taking you in and saying, hey, it's going to be okay. You're going to be a part of our family. Gangs is family. Military is family. God, country, corps. Corps is the group of people, your fellow soldiers. And both elements are pushing family. Both elements appeal to people that are looking for a family unit that might not have one. It's the same thing, just the outcome. And what they do is different. And then he goes on to say that absentee fathers equal greater problems. That's absolutely true. And then he says, lean into something that God has planned for you more so than what you plan for yourself. And that's where the faith comes into it. If you are believing that God leads the way and that God has a plan for you, are you going to follow that plan? Or are you going to go your own way? Are you going to be like Jonah and end up in the belly of a whale? Or are you going to go to Nineveh? If God has a plan, if you don't believe and you don't have faith, then fine. This doesn't apply to you. You can bemoan and besmirch and make fun of a guy for his religion, because that's actually what we're doing here. When you're protesting this guy, you're protesting his religion, and you're actually bigoted toward his religion. You don't have to go to TikTok and put videos out there and belittle him, play the song He's a Very Little Man while you put your resume of what you graduated and what you've done in life. You're besmirching somebody's religion. You can ignore it. That's the difference between liberal ideology and conservative ideology. Liberals will spout off, they will protest, they will silence, they'll try to cancel somebody. The conservatives just turn it off and ignore it. And the irony of this whole thing is that the jersey sales for Harrison Butker, off the charts, sold out. More and more people showing support for him, because you have the vocal minority on social media versus the silent majority that act behind the scenes. And that silent majority is buying the jerseys, showing support. And you can go look online, maybe not to the mainstream news media sites because they're not going to promote that, but you're going to see more and more people supporting them. Oh, sure. You're going to see the nuns of something or other denounce the speech, but the church has gotten awfully political too. So you have to look at the source. And the college signed off on it. So therefore the college agrees. They say students disagreed. Well, that's fine too. But on a whole, they agreed with it. So you have these people complaining because Harrison Butker basically pushed family values. He pushed and talked about his religion, his faith, what he believes to like-minded people, and everyone gets upset. People, especially women, that outraged over speech, but these are the same women that are okay with the genocide that is abortion. These are the same people that complain about deadbeat dads or absent fathers, like I mentioned. These are the same people that want equality of outcomes, but not equality of opportunity. Jordan Peterson had a great comment one time. He was on a show, and they were talking about equality, and he pointed out women want equality of outcomes, but you don't see women being bricklayers. You don't see women being in construction. You don't see women on the side of the freeways or the interstates doing construction. You don't see women in these positions because they don't want them. And sure, these people might make more money. You don't see women, at least I haven't, on the Deadliest Catch. Maybe one or two if they're there. I haven't watched that show in a while, but when I was watching it, that's probably one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. Crab fishing in the Bering Strait. Women don't want to do that job. Very dangerous, very hardworking, very laborious. But they want the outcomes. They want the money to be equal. But they don't want the work and everything else to be equal. Now, it's not everybody, but that's a majority of these people. So this whole outrage is an attack on the family designed by God. The family design is designed by God, and this is attack. So again, you're attacking a religion, you're attacking a faith. If you don't believe it, just turn it off. Instead of being so negative, instead of being so derogatory, anti-religion, bigoted, you think women would be encouraged and supported and want to support someone who said his wife was the reason for his success. But instead they twist his words and they say, oh, he said we should be barefoot pregnant in the kitchen. And that's not the case. So this guy's not talking to you. Just as if maybe somebody that believed the Hindu religion, the Buddhist religion, the Muslim religion would be saying stuff. For example, having a conversation with a Muslim, they don't believe in drinking alcohol or eating pork. You have a conversation and they could tell me how bad it is, but if I go and do it, I'm not violating anybody's tenet because I don't believe in that. But I'm not going to yell, scream, and complain and go to social media and say how bad they are because they don't drink alcohol or because they don't eat pork. It gets out of control. So basically what I would say is just get over yourself. Why don't you do something more in life than going off to social media, posting videos? Because again, you did not care. You probably heard the speech, if you even heard about the speech before you even got on social media. But what put you and drove you is the fact that you saw somebody post something and therefore you were influenced by that post without knowing anything else. And therefore you were outraged and you wanted to be a part of that trend or whatever they call it these days of posting stuff on social media when you could care less. In fact, I saw somebody who posted something. Apparently she's in Europe. In fact, I think as of this particular moment, I'm talking to you. Maybe you watch this video a couple days from now or whenever. But this moment, I think Taylor Swift is in Stockholm doing a concert at this very moment. There was a video the other day that somebody posted. This person that posted it is in Europe. I don't know if she's in Stockholm, but she's in Europe. And she's going to a couple of Taylor Swift concerts because she lives in America, but she traveled over there. So apparently she has enough money to travel to some exotic location. And she's talking about living in some exotic hotel or staying at an exotic hotel, eating exotic foods, going to Taylor Swift concerts. And yet she's posting a video about being outraged over a commencement speech at a small Catholic college in Kansas. If you're in Europe, if I'm in Europe, and I'm living in the lap of luxury in Europe, the last thing I'm going to do is post on social media and bitch about some commencement speech somewhere. I'm going to go live in Europe. I'm going to go have fun and I'm going to engage in the culture. And last thing I'm going to worry about is posting protest videos on social media. But that's more important. And so I posted, why are you even posting something when you're out there doing all this? And of course, there was no comment back, which is fine. I'm not expecting one. But it's like, go live your life. Get over it. You don't have to listen to or abide by what he says. You can disagree with it, but get over yourself. Go do something more in life than being manipulated and brainwashed by social media. You're being told when and where and how to be outraged, and then you rage about it. And in fact, men, let's step up. Let's fill that void. Women don't want to be homemakers. You want to be a homemaker? Stay at home? Do it. Be a stay-at-home dad. Let's be stay-at-home fathers, stay-at-home husbands. Let's let the women do the heavy lifting now. Because now we might just live longer too. Staying home. Because there's nothing wrong with being a homemaker. There's nothing wrong with being the CEO of your family. There's nothing wrong with raising young kids and not working. Even though the world tells you that you're a stay-at-home mom somehow diminishes who you are, or a stay-at-home dad diminishes who you are, it doesn't. Running your family and making sure your family is taken care of and making sure your kids are being raised and being taught and being instructed with values and morals and ethics is a good thing. Instead, we have to rush off to daycare in the morning that we can hardly pay. Now, granted, some people need daycare and all that. I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about the single parent. I'm not talking about the family that needs 2-3 incomes. I'm not talking about anything like that. It's not a one size fits all. I'm talking about people that are complaining, people like those that are rushing off to Europe to see Taylor Swift in Stockholm or wherever, and then bitching about a speech, saying how this guy's misogynist, narcissistic, and all these things, and then having to post the fact that you graduated from college and you had kids, you have a successful career, and basically you've done the same thing that millions of other people have done, but you need to show us and tell us the successes that you had in protest over this. Which brings me to the next thing, the Met Gala. So the Met Gala every year is hosted by Vogue magazine, and it's a charity fundraising event for the Metropolitan Museum of Art and their Costume Institute. So it's their Costume Institute, so everybody's going to show up in these flamboyant gowns, costumes, dresses, attire, $75,000 to attend. So this event has been going on for years. Every once in a while, I think AOC, she wore a dress maybe that said tax the rich, something like that, whatever. So every once in a while, you might get a little bit of a protest or a little bit of something backlash against the Met and the extravagant, lavish lifestyle that these people live, okay? But for some reason, this year, there's a big protest and pushback that led to a Blockout 2024 by these very people that are bitching and complaining about this commencement speech. Same people. So the same people that are promoting their degrees, promoting their successes, promoting their careers, giving us their resume of success, just not too long ago in protest of the Met, were blocking successful women, blocking people that had gone out into the workforce, worked hard, put in the long hours, built a career, built a brand. They were blocking them. Miley Cyrus's, the Beyoncé's, the Kim Kardashians, the Taylor Swifts. How many of you blocked Taylor Swift, but yet you went to her concert not too long ago, bought her merchandise, purchased her new album, made her a billionaire, and now you're blocking her in an effort to try to somehow affect her finances or somehow to negatively impact her brand or whatever? Did it work? No, because now you jump to this Harrison Butker commencement speech protest. But people, Madonna, Rihanna, all of them being blocked. Every day we were inundated with women coming on, and guys too, but people coming on and saying, this is who I'm blocking today, and this is who you should block. Blockout 2024. And it's because somebody, I think her name is Haley Bailey, somebody like that, posted a video dressed in an exotic gown, and it was a trend, I guess, that was going around TikTok, so she claims, and says that it was about let them eat cake, which apparently is something that was referenced to Marie Antoinette back during the French, or prior to the French Revolution, where she said let them eat cake because she was living a lavish lifestyle, and she was married to King Louis the XYZ, and it led to the French Revolution because people were upset. So in short, you have this $75,000 a night event. Who shows up and what goes on is basically a secret. Guests must put their phone aside. No phones allowed. No social media. The only pictures and stuff are the ones that are professionally released by Vogue or the Met. Attendees dress up in lavish and extravagant gowns, clothes, costumes, whatever you want to call it these days. And it was Haley Bailey that did this video, this Marie Antoinette let them eat cake video. And apparently it was a trend, she says, at the time that got out of control. Well, this again got everybody up in arms in social media. All the rage led to this boycott of celebrities. blocking them on social media in an effort to negatively impact them, their finances, their popularity, etc. So social media warriors charge to social media, TikTok especially, to express their outrage, whether these celebrities were in the wrong because they went to this event, or maybe because they're not saying enough about freeing Palestine, or maybe whatever social cause that these people were protesting, they weren't talking about, whatever the reason. They were now outraged against these celebrities, and these celebrities were being called out of touch, entitled, etc. We need to block them. By the way, Marie Antoinette was the Queen of France, wife of King Louis XVI. Things led up to the French Revolution, because she led a life of decadence. And basically, while the kingdom was impoverished, she was leading a life. I guess there was rumors to maybe affairs and other things. Eventually, she got arrested. They were dethroned, tried for treason, executed, and that was the end of the French monarchy. The phrase "let them eat cake" is attributed to Marie Antoinette, but there really is no real evidence that she actually said that or uttered those words. It just kind of became attributed to her because apparently the phrase was in a book published back in 1767 or 1782, Les Confessions. And apparently somebody might have attributed that comment to her. But anyway, so when you say "let them eat cake," and you're like, oh, Marie Antoinette said that. Well, there's no evidence that she did say that, just as a side note to history. So then Haley Bailey does this video and people are outraged. Let them eat cake. Boycott celebrities start trending on TikTok, and the average person is blocking celebrities from their accounts, hoping to have a negative impact on them. So then, like I said, people are posting, this is who I'm blocking today. This is who you're blocking. And they're giddy. They're excited. They're like, this is like the greatest thing ever because we are blocking these celebrities, even though, and again, they mentioned Taylor Swift, blocking her, even though they already went to her Eras tour in the United States and bought her merchandise and her new album and made her a billionaire, whatever. Now, here's the thing, too. And the other thing I forgot, which I think probably set a lot of people off, too, in the Harrison Butker commencement speech. They referred to Taylor Swift as Travis Kelce's girlfriend. So that got them all in a tiff, enraged, because it's Travis Kelce's girlfriend, not Taylor Swift. But again, prior to this, they were boycotting her, blocking her, Blockout 2024. But here's the thing. If you are really outraged and you really want to do something, going to social media is irrelevant. Remember back in 2020, maybe you don't, people were putting a black square in social media in support of Black Lives Matter. Did that do anything? No. And you go back and you look at these people that had that black square, and the last 4 years, there's nothing that is continuing that solidation for Black Lives Matter. They go back to their lives and doing whatever it is that they do. They've forgotten about it. They've moved on until these things now pop up. But if you really want to do something, why not go and volunteer at Habitat for Humanity? Why don't you? There are people, despite what you think, there are people that would love to have a home that they could be a homemaker in, but they don't have it. All those Free Palestine people, power to the people, from the river to the sea. Imagine what those women's lives were like. They can't do anything without their husband telling them what they can do. And yet you're supporting that. So you're protesting a commencement speech, but yet you're supporting the oppression of women in Palestine. Go look it up if you don't believe me. But instead of bitching on social media, because it's the easiest thing to do, and really what you're trying to do is get recognition and clicks and likes and views and so on, why don't you go and pick up a hammer and build homes for Habitat for Humanity? Although I'd be leery for some of you to have any type of power tools in your hand, or anything for that matter. Might hurt yourself. You know, recently we had tornadoes across the Midwest, the Central Plains, from Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, other parts of the country. Why don't you work with the Red Cross, volunteer, and try to do some things to help other people who lost their homes? There's a lot of people that their homes are wiped out. Hey, you have a home, but You're bitching because somebody says you should be a homemaker. Well, you should be thankful you have a home to be a homemaker in, because a lot of people just lost their homes to the tornadoes. You don't want to have a family? Or you think Harrison Butker's comments about having a family? Well, why not go to Big Brothers and Big Sisters and mentor somebody, or be a part of somebody's lives who doesn't have anything? A big brother, a big sister, and invest in the lives of somebody that might not have a parent to take care of them, might not have somebody to look out for them, to love them. Why not work at a homeless shelter or food kitchen? And I'm not talking about like one time. Make a commitment, 3 months, 6 months. Do something that actually matters besides making you look stupid on social media. Because again, you might be the vocal minority on social media, but the silent majority is buying the jerseys. The silent majority is supporting him. The silent majority is going to go to Chiefs games in record numbers this coming season because they support that, because they don't care what you think, because you're in the minority, because you're outraged over something that you should be more concerned with. Family values. Homeless, food kitchen, after school programs. We've done podcasts about education in America and grade level proficiency in math, reading, science, all plummeting. And instead of spending your time on woke ideology, why don't you go to an after school program and actually teach people to read, write, math, educate them? Teachers are having a hard enough time. Why don't you support and help? Let them get a leg up so they can go to college, so that they can post videos years down the line of their graduation. Because the other thing, too, that I find completely ironic is we've had videos of people at graduation walking out in protest because Jerry Seinfeld is speaking and whatever other reasons they walk out. And I've seen videos of people ripping up their diploma. I know it's really not their diploma because you don't get your diploma on stage, but whatever it is, and they're doing all these protests. Dude, you just went 4 or 5 years to college, major accomplishment, and now you're ripping up in protest whatever it is that you've earned. You're walking out of the moment for you to shine. Makes no sense. Why not coach a sport, or maybe an after-school program where you teach music? Maybe you can teach someone to play the guitar, the piano, give lessons. And you're not doing it for money. You're volunteering. 3 months, 6 months, maybe a year. You can make a real impact in somebody's life. So instead of going to social media and bitching and complaining, why not do something that's going to make a lasting impact? It's like Wilson Phillips. If you're familiar with her album, their debut album, they had a song. I believe the first song was like, Hold On. The next song was Release Me. Hold on, release me. Hold on, release me. What are we doing? Talking about relationships. Are we staying together, breaking up? I don't know what's going on. It's crazy. And a lot of people at the time, I remember talking about, that's kind of like the mind of a woman, right? Hold on, release me. Hold on, release me. Change your mind constantly from one song to the next. It's hold on, it's release me. Hold on, release me. But that's what we're doing here. We're going back and forth. We're protesting women because they went to the Met Gala. Successful women that went out there, worked hard, made a name for themselves, produced a brand, and did something. Now we're blocking them. Oh, wait, there's a speech, so now I got to promote myself as a successful person that went out and did something, and you want all of us to be like, oh, hey, good for you, when millions of other people have done that, but now you're blocking these people. Now we're supposed to support you and praise you for what you've done? Or are we supposed to block you too? And then you go out there and you find pro-women things to support, like my body, my choice, but yet the baby, the female baby inside you, that little girl doesn't have a choice. Like Clementine doesn't have a choice. And then what about someone like Caitlin Clark, the WNBA? She's made her debut. She set all those records at Iowa, and she's with the Indiana Fever, and there's been a few games now, and she's already making history with breaking record number of people coming to her games. Prices have escalated. I think in one game she went, I think it was with the Connecticut Suns. The average ticket price was over 100. The Connecticut Suns, their next game, the average price was like 19. When she plays, they're moving games to bigger arenas. And when she doesn't play, those games are going back to the original smaller arenas. So she's making history, breaking records, astonishing league records. More than 2.1 million viewers followed Caitlin Clark's WNBA debut. This number set a record for the most views of a league game in over 20 years. It was watched by more than 2 NBA Christmas Day games last year. The Suns, the Connecticut Suns, sold twice the amount of tickets to their game against Indiana than they did for all their home games last year. In one game, because Caitlin Clark was there, in one game, double the amount of people showed up than all of last year. Wow. And again, the ticket prices actually 103 compared to 17. And that was with the Washington Mystics. So here you have somebody that's doing great things for the WNBA, promoting the sport, bringing people out. And yet everyone is cracking on her. The same people that are blocking out celebrities, the same people that are protesting commencement speeches and yet showing themselves off on social media, their resumes, or cracking back on Caitlin Clark and her big shoe deal and the fact that she's not going to make it in the WNBA and because she's white or because she's not the right person. None of this makes sense. You have somebody that is literally promoting your league, what you've been dreaming for. You have Brittany Griner goes to Russia, gets arrested for bringing drugs into the country. She gets released because Biden exchanges her for some terrorist, and she's supposed to be a hero. And in that first game back, I think she's with the Mercury in Phoenix. They go to Los Angeles, and nobody shows up to the game. And so the coach for the Mercury chastises the fans in LA, saying, come on, LA, you should come to the games. It's Brittany Griner. She was here. But then what happened? You have somebody that's actually bringing people, putting fans in the stands, and they're trying to silence her, cancel her, because she's maybe not the right skin color, or maybe she's taking too much publicity away from the other people. You know, you got these female athletes that are supposed to be, well, they've got egos just like everybody else. Let's not get that wrong. There's no difference. But they're not getting the praise, the accolades Caitlin Clark is. She's done more for women's basketball in the last year and a half than probably anybody else has in a long time. Maybe go back to Cheryl Miller in the 80s. Maybe the Connecticut's, those teams when they were winning like 4 straight championships in a row. Maybe the Tennessee women's college basketball team when they were successful. You know, you had the Tennessee Volunteers, and then Connecticut kind of took over, and now South Carolina's kind of taken over as far as the premier teams that go. But Caitlin Clark is single-handedly bringing more people to the sport, and people complaining about it. It's like, what are we doing? How is it that you can have somebody promote your sport, bring more money, revenue, whatever? Instead, why not support it? Why not get behind it? Ride that wave. There's always a trailblazer that's going to set the stage. Follow him behind it. Run with it. Why not ride the coattails to success? See, because we worship at the altar of self. It's all about me. That's what social media is. It's all about me. It's all about promoting me. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when it becomes self-absorbent, when you can't recognize others, when you have to put other people down, then that's when it becomes dangerous. And, you know, you start to see many posts throughout the years of people talking about, dimming somebody's other light doesn't make your light shine brighter. Squashing somebody else's dreams doesn't make your dreams any better. Again, extinguishing the light of someone else doesn't make your light shine brighter. All those kind of, motivational, inspirational type speeches. And you might not like what Harrison Butker said, maybe on the surface level. But if you're somebody bitching about men and how bad they are, how toxic they are. The fact that he gave his wife credit for his success. The way he talked about men stepping up and being men and being a part of the family and taking on the responsibility that is theirs. Talking about how absentee fathers equal greater problems. Absence of men leads to more violence around the nation. Men be there, men show up, men set the tone for culture. But yet women want to push back on that because, oh, I'm a woman, I could do it. But you forget that teamwork. Because yes, as a woman, you probably could do a lot of things, but the one thing you really can do is relate to a young boy, to a young man, like a man can. That's why the relationship with a mother-daughter is special. Father-son is special. It's unique. A mother doesn't know what a son goes through, especially as they grow up, but a father would. We have a lot of influence of women on young boys. Maybe we should try to do things to get men to want to teach elementary school. People think teaching elementary school for a man is a negative thing. Why is it? Maybe we need more men in elementary schools. Maybe we need more men teaching middle school. Maybe we need more men teaching, period. And being involved in some of these other aspects of their lives. Instead of spending time blocking out people on social media that you have already made a billionaire, why don't you put your focus and energy in something that really counts? Habitat for Humanity, homeless shelter, food kitchen, Red Cross, organizing a food drive, maybe looking in the community and seeing what needs need to be met. Maybe looking in the schools that your kids go to and what kids don't have lunch, what kids don't have things, the basic necessities, the coats, the clothes, the after school care. Could you imagine as a kid, and one time I knew this kid, I was working at a school while I was going to college, and this kid would be dropped off at 6 a.m. and he would not be picked up until 6 p.m. 6 a.m. was when before school daycare opened, and 6 p.m. was when after school daycare would close from 6 to 6, 12 hours a day, all through elementary school. And then one time I found out that the mom, after her work would get done, she would go and get her nails done and do all this stuff and leave her kid at daycare because it was too much of a hassle to do all this stuff with her son in tow. If I came across somebody like that now, I might speak my mind. That's terrible. But yet we have to applaud that because she's a successful career woman to the detriment of her kid. If you want to leave a lasting legacy, invest in your kids because they are the future. They're the ones that are going to be there to take care of you when you can no longer take care of yourself. And so how do you want your kids to be? How do you want your family name? Are you going to support the Caitlin Clarks because they're successful and she's putting in the hard work and becoming the successful person that you just promoted on social media? She graduated from college. She's bringing seats or fans to the seats at these WNBA games. And you're criticizing her, yet you're posting videos of you graduating from college, starting a business, being a successful career woman, but you're cracking down on Caitlin Clark for doing the exact same thing. You're blocking people like Beyonce, Taylor Swift, and all these others, Miley Cyrus, and so on, because they did the same thing. They became successful people. You're going to crack down on somebody's religion because he's promoting family values, promoting maybe an alternative theory to what society is telling us. I guess diabolical lies are something that we want to push. But in the end, when it comes down to it, you got to be responsible for yourself. You got to take responsibility. And so a lot of people are pushing back on the pushback. And they're like, no, we're going to support this guy for what he says, because there are people across this country, the silent majority, that support family values. There's a lot of people that understood what he said. Yeah, you can have a career, You could be a mother, you could be a homemaker, but you can also be the foundation to success for the man in your life. That teamwork, that coming together, working as a team, because that's the only way relationships are going to work, is as a team. Once that teamwork starts to fall apart, the team falls apart. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So you want to strengthen that weakest link. And you do that by finding people around you and putting people around you that can reinforce that weak link. Kind of like the yin and yang of life. And yet a lot of people want to push that to the side and put me first. Because of my gender, because of my race, because of my whatever, I can do it on my own. To the rest of you, be damned. And if someone speaks out against that, we're going to try to cancel them. But yet, the jersey sales are off the charts. The fans are in the seats to the tune of double the fanship in attendance in one game compared to a whole season. Viewership higher than NBA games. So the vocal minority, or I should say the silent minority, is still out there putting their actions into place and showing what they believe, and not just going to social media and spouting off with some stupid videos that we all have to endure and then eventually just give up and not watch social media anymore, which is probably a good thing. TikTok got sold. TikTok went away. I think our society would be a lot better. This is Two Steps Ahead podcast, encouraging you to take your passion, make it happen, let yourself be great. You can check out our website, radiowarp.com. That's radio, W-A-R-P, radiowarp.com. You can click on the show logos, for example, the Two Steps Ahead podcast logo, and all of our shows will pop up in video form. You can click on it and watch the video. Or there's an orange bar that goes across the page to our SoundCloud account, which is our audio version. You can click on that, goes to SoundCloud, and can download and take audio episodes with you on the go. You can listen anywhere you listen to podcasts. Social media, we are on Instagram, Facebook at TWO, Two Steps Ahead Podcast. You can email the show at twostepsaheadpodcast@gmail.com. And all you have to do is do an internet search on your favorite internet search engine, TWO, Two Steps Ahead Podcast, and we pop up. So how do you want life to be? What are you going to do with your life? What kind of impact are you going to have? Are you going to continue to be a social media justice warrior? Or are you going to actually go out in the real world and do something to make a positive influence on somebody else's life? The choice is yours. I'm Son Edom. This is Two Steps Ahead podcast, encouraging you to take your passion, make it happen, let yourself be great. Hey, thanks for listening. Do tell a friend. And until next time, God bless.